Could you tell me a little bit about yourself and your current role?
Yes, I'm Aubree Roth. I'm the Montana Farm to School Coordinator. I work with Montana Teen Nutrition Program, and we are housed at Montana State University in Bozeman, Montana, and we work in close collaboration with Montana Office of Public Instruction school nutrition programs. So we work together with OPI and through MSU to be able to provide training and guidance for schools and teachers throughout Montana.
What is beef to school?
Beef to school is when schools are serving local beef in their school meals, essentially. So they can do that in a variety of ways. But we also have in Montana the Montana Beef to School Coalition, which supports schools serving local beef. So we started in 2013 under the leadership of a Montana Food Corps fellow who also created a video about beef to school and brought together stakeholders to form the coalition, including ranchers, processors, state agency, and other people who are supportive of beef to school efforts. So we have been working together since then. We do have an annual meeting, and then we also meet regularly just over the phone to discuss how we can continue supporting beef to school efforts. We did receive a Western SARE grant a few years ago, so we're finishing that up now to be able to research beef to school successes in Montana.
Can you tell us a little bit about what local beef in schools or in the cafeteria might look like?
So some schools are purchasing the beef on a regular basis. That might be all of the beef that they're purchasing or serving to the children, or they might be doing it as a promotional event, such as part of the Montana Harvest of the Month program when beef is featured, such as it has been in March for the past couple of years. So they do it in a variety of ways. They also usually, and this is something we definitely recommend that they do, is have promotion with that meal. So if they have the rancher or the processor there, or if they have some signage that indicates that it is a local item, that really helps to garner interest with the students, staff, and parents.
How does beef to school work?
So as I said, it does work differently in different schools. They might be serving it regularly or on more of an event type basis, but they do have different models. So some schools might be purchasing it from a rancher or a processor, or maybe even a distributor. Some schools are actually receiving donated beef that might be donated from the rancher or the processor. And one of the sites that we included in our case study receives donated beef that's purchased at the 4-H auction in their town by community members. So that's really fun, and it's a great way of having community engagement while serving the beef that these students actually raise because they're 4-H cattle. So there's many different models, and that's why I would say there's no like, this is how you do beef to school. It's just what works within that community. So it's really exciting to see that.
What kind of community support have you seen come from a beef in schools program?
So beef to school programs really get the community interested, whether that's parents or businesses or even the students themselves. It's really a great way to increase community support of a food service program at a school. Just because a lot of people are excited, like, oh, our community's agriculture or economy is being supported by this school, so they really get behind it. Some of the things that communities have done to support beef to school efforts include purchasing 4-H steers at auction to donate back to the food service, but then they've also done things like help with the education. So not only serving the beef, but then pairing it with educational opportunities, whether that's a field trip or a farmer in the classroom or something like that. They've done a lot to help with that. And then there are some organizations who have helped to raise funds to be able to buy and then donate beef to the school, such as the Crazy Peak Cattle Women's Association. So there's different ways that community members are getting involved in beef to school.
What are some of the benefits of a beef to schools program?
So there's many benefits to beef to school programs, but one of the ones I think is great is it's a fantastic entry point for farm to school in Montana We have more cows than people, actually 2 times as many cows than people in Montana still. And so people are really all about the beef. And so it can be a great way for them to get introduced to farm to school from the procurement side of actually serving those local foods, as well as that education side and pairing that with that community involvement. Some of the benefits that the beef to school participants in our case study analysis provided was less waste when the local beef is served, because students are excited that it's local beef, and so they tend to take and then eat the food. You wouldn't think that students have a hard time finishing hamburgers, but a couple of our sites said that even just switching from the beef they were using before to a local beef hamburger changed the food waste significantly. Further, it has increased excitement from students, staff, parents, and community members about the food service program. And quite frankly, any sort of kudos that school food service staff can receive, I think, is awesome. So I'm just excited to give them something that other people can pat them on the back for. It provides an educational opportunity, like I said before. So if they're doing like field trips or educational things in the classroom, it just gives that chance to pair what they're eating with something they're learning. And then, of course, it supports Montana agriculture and strong local economies, especially in these rural areas where economic opportunities are really dwindling in some cases. It's just great that the school can support those and sort of highlight what they're doing.
What's the best school meal you've had that included some local beef?
So my favorite school meal overall, all time, is chili and cinnamon rolls. And I've had it with I've had tasty chili with local beef and lentils. And so I think that's by far my favorite. And for those of you who think that chili and cinnamon roll sounds like a weird meal, it is delightful. Salty, sweet, it's just great.
Aubree Roth getting into the chili and cinnamon roll fray. I love it.
I've always been like, we had chili and cinnamon rolls when I was a kid. It was my favorite. My mom, they would make cinnamon rolls. My mom's a postmaster, and she knows like everyone in the community, and she would request cinnamon rolls, and so they'd package them up and make us take them home for her.
Oh, Montana, you're so cute.
I will also say that lunch lady Donna would bring the kids, it was like for second or third grade or something like that, into the kitchen and then show how the cinnamon rolls were made. It was amazing. Yeah, I loved it.
How can someone get started using local meat in school meals?
So first off, they just need to know what their budget is, what their intent is. So if they want to do it as a special meal, or if they want to, say, swap out all of the beef or some of the beef with local beef in their school meals. So really understanding what the goal is and how much funds are available and what is needed is really the first step. We do have a number of resources on our site to be able to help people. So I'd go to the Montana Farm to School site and the Montana Beef to School page, which includes several resources. One is the case study, so you can read about successful beef to school sites throughout Montana, which I think is great and shows different models of how they make it work. We also have the beef to school procurement templates for both informal and formal purchases, so you can plop in your information and edit the templates to fit the procurement that you're planning on doing. And then we also have archive trainings. We have the Montana Farm to Cafeteria manual, which is specific to Montana, but also gives some pretty good guidance for other people. The USDA Farm to School Procurement Guide is also an extremely helpful resource if you're just trying to figure out the procurement piece, because like any foods that schools purchase, they still need to follow procurement guidelines, even if it's local. And then we also are adding a number of resources. We're finishing up those now. So we have a frequently asked questions document that we're finalizing that will answer the questions we get about beef to school all the time. We're creating a Mont guide, which is the extension bulletins created through MSU Extension. We also have infographics we're creating for communicating some information about beef to school and specifically the producer processor surveys that we conducted. So there will be even more beef to school information. And then we provide regular updates and stories about beef to school on our Montana Farm to School Facebook page.